It is critical to notice what elevation datum from which a projection is referenced. Since sea level changes every second, fixed reference points have been established so builders, surveyors, and others can have a common understanding of how high something is off the ground. The elevation datum used in Broward County and most of the U.S. is North American Vertical Datum of 1988. To explain the usefulness of this datum, let's click through the different elevations of interest. Mean sea level represents the local mid-tide for a certain time period. It's much simpler to tell a builder to build at minus 0.8 feet NAVD 88, a fixed elevation point, rather than asking him to measure from the midpoint between the high and low tide as it occurred approximately in year 2000, or actually the average between the 1991 and 2010 sea level period. This is actually the 20-year range that represents the tidal epoch that the 2000 mean sea level elevation is determined from. Remember, 2000 mean sea level is the starting elevation for the unified sea level rise projection. Mean high water represents high tide. And correlates to 0.5 feet NAVD 88. And it's almost 1.5 feet higher than mean sea level. Mean low water represents low tide, which is about a foot lower than mean sea level. The mid-tide today, or 2017, as close to today as the 5-year average can get, is approximately minus 0.5 feet NAVD. In 2070, according to the NOAA Intermediate High projection of 40 inches above the 2000 mean sea level, mid-tide will be at 2.5 feet NAVD. Sea level rise can be referenced from mean low water, mean sea level, mean high water, or NAVD 88. The difference between these datums is significant, and it's very important to always understand what the reference point is to clearly understand how different water levels will be in the future. These are the frequently asked questions related to the Unified Sea Level Rise projection. Where can I get data for the curves? The curves, as well as the guidance document, are posted on the Compact website, southeastfloridaclimatecompact.org. The guidance document itself contains all the values for the curves. The curves can be reproduced using the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Sea Level Rise Calculator online and selecting the NOAA curves and the location of Key West. Also, the observed data, the 5-year average observed data, comes from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Sea Level Rise Tracker online application. What are projected elevations in NAVD? This is listed in the guidance document. And for example, in 2040, the projected elevation of mean sea level is 0.6 NAVD. In 2070, it's 2.5 NAVD based on the NOAA Intermediate High curve. And in 2120, it's 10.5 feet NAVD based on the NOAA High curve. Which areas will be inundated, and what will inundation look like? The Sea Level Rise Sketch Planning tool, also available online, can help understand which areas will be inundated by sea level rise within our county. Also, I shared some examples of areas that were inundated by high tide flooding. This is what inundation will look like on a daily basis in those areas unless adaptation occurs. Where are the tide gauges in South Florida? There is a tide gauge located in Fort Lauderdale at the Port Everglades site. It's actually called South Port Everglades if you're on the NOAA website. The sea level rise projection discussed today is actually based on the Key West tide gauge. There are also gauges in Virginia Key, Miami Beach, Vaca Key, and there are regional gauges, local tide gauges in Pompano Beach, Deerfield, Hollywood, and Fort Lauderdale that have much shorter records. What is projected sea level rise relative to today's sea level? Simplest way to approach this and this is in the guidance document, is to subtract 3 or 4 inches from the projected rise. And make sure to always note what elevation datum you're working in. When will the next update be? So the update to the Unified Sea Level Rise projection is based on the updated science that's available. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is anticipated to release its next assessment report, the 6th assessment, in 2022. The North American Vertical Datum 88, the elevation datum we discussed today, is anticipated to be updated in possibly 2024. And it's expected that the compact will update this Unified Sea Level Rise projection in the next 4 or 5 years, so by 2025. For more information and details on the Unified Sea Level Rise projection and the methodology for how it was developed and guidance for application, along with a state of science update on all the information that was used to derive the projection, visit southeastfloridaclimatecompact.org for the guidance document. Also, you can always reach out to resilience@broward.org for questions related to Broward's Climate Resilience Program. Thank you.